And let's go ahead and get into our top story tonight, Alex, while he's working that out. So we had a lot of events happen. Like, is it safe to say that Romney's principle was fully in effect in January?
Very much so.
Very much so,
so.
because it was holy crap. We just had thing after thing after thing coming up, and it was blowing my mind quite thoroughly. So we actually have quite a bit to get into, but I think it's only appropriate to get into the biggest piece of news, which is, and it feels like deja vu saying this, Alex, because I'm pretty sure we began the year on the Bethesda acquisition by Microsoft, and well, I love the fact that in our agenda I named it microstructure, because that's not right. Microsoft has acquired Activision-Blizzard. Dun dun dun. Yeah, that's a thing. They acquired them for $68.7 billion. I think. Let me double check that. I think it was billion with a B, right?
Billion with a B. $1 billion.
$1 billion. Yeah, they acquired Activision-Blizzard out of nowhere. And now everybody, and I love the fact that after this happens, even though everybody hates Activision-Blizzard, right? Everybody hates them. They now are officially, Microsoft has become a superpower of games, because they know that everything is over, that Xbox will own the world, etc. And also joining us now that can we officially introduce you now? Can you officially be heard? Or can you hear? I don't know. Okay, I guess we can't just yet. So with that, yeah, we have a superpower on our hands, and the superpower apparently will own us all as Phil Spencer unleashes both Bethesda and Activision Blizzard to dominate the gaming industry. And I mean, it's a pretty hefty acquisition. I have to say that for $68.7 billion, especially compared to the $7.5 billion that they paid out for ZeniMax Media, aka Bethesda. So yeah, Alex, what's your take on this?
Well, I guess nobody saw this coming.
Are we doomed? Are we boned? Yes.
Sorry, you're breaking up for me.
Are we boned? Are we X-boned?
I think we could be X-boned, but
we could be X-boned.
I think this is very simple. This is sort of the gaming equivalent of when Disney bought out 20th Century Fox, basically.
Yeah.
This is like, holy crap, yet another piece of the market share is pretty much gobbled up by one company, in this case, Microsoft. And, well, yeah, I mean, quite the timing, too, considering all the problems that have been happening with Activision and Blizzard and that whole company now.
We'll get into that in a minute, because I have questions in that regard. But so yeah, we hit the $68.7 billion. That's still fun to say.
$1 billion.
And with that, Xbox now owns in terms of intellectual property, owns Call of Duty. So like that's a big one. They own Warcraft, and that's it was the leading MMO. Now Final Fantasy 14 has not so graciously taken it away from Blizzard from Blizzard. Overwatch, many more IPs. I mean, for crying out loud, with Activision, there's stuff like Skylanders, and I think Tony Hawk the Tony Hawk franchise is still owned by Activision, and so there's lots there. There's lots of IPs there. So let's actually analyze this for a second. I mean, in terms of IPs, that's a lot of IPs that they basically have the rights to.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I would say with Activision, there's quite a vault there to be able to utilize. Because and I completely forgot about this. So they are the current owners of Crash Bandicoot. So not Spyro the Dragon. I think Spyro the Dragon is still owned by. Actually, you know what? They might actually be the owners as well, because I know it was Universal Games, but I think Activision bought that before it was acquired. The Tony Hawk series, like I said, is another big one that happened. Spyro. Okay, Spyro was acquired. Guitar Hero. We could see the return of Guitar Hero in this day and age, Alex. We could see the return of overpriced guitar controllers.
We're gonna. It's crazy to think that. Yes, you're probably right, because we're probably getting to the point where Guitar Hero is gonna actually. Oh God! Because I remember when Guitar Hero was at its height.
You cut out in the middle there. So
damn it.
Go ahead and reprise what you were saying.
So yeah, I think you're totally right that we'll probably see a Guitar Hero revival in the very near future, because we are getting to that point where Guitar Hero is probably both retro and nostalgic enough for a lot of people to pick up.
Yeah,
again.
Indeed. And also, I can now officially say that he is joining us live. We have our new third guy, and that is the returning Brenton Volley. Brenton, how are you doing this fine evening? Aside from your massive hate boner for CenturyLink right now.
I'm good.
Okay.
I drank some water, and per usual, I have to drink it with my lungs. So
Yes.
that's just what I decided to do that live.
Yes. In fact, you do need water to survive. So I'm glad that you realize that.
Well, apparently also in my lungs. So
Yes.
go figure.
Indeed. So, Brenton, it's been a while. It's been a while since you've been able to join us, and people can actually, if you want to know what's happened in that regard, the thing that I will just go ahead and tell you is go and check out the podcast that we did, that explains a lot of that, and so that way we don't have to hammer it over and over and over again. But Brenton, I'm just gonna go ahead and get into your take on this. Holy crap, we have an Activision buyout, and Microsoft has become a superpower. Oh, sorry, I'm messing around with your volume, so it's coming in a little bit better. Is that better?
I mean, is it better? I don't know.
Yes.
I sound fine to me.
Yes, you're coming in a little bit clearer. The pardon our dust, people. So, yes, Activision-Blizzard has been purchased by Microsoft. Superpower!
Oh, my Lanta. Okay, so one, I apologize for the technical difficulties on my end. I decided very quickly that I just wanted to know how much percentage I had left in my wireless headset, and then Discord decided, oh, you don't want to hear anything anymore? Okay.
Yeah,
and
I'm
like, no, that's not what I wanted
because
at
wireless. Like people wondered why in college, like I never used anything wireless. It's just, I'd seen like all the people have issues with wireless mouse and keyboards. So
it was a pretty easy fix. It just anyway.
Well, and also we're blaming Discord for everything this year. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Damn it,
we
Discord.
had this conversation.
Be better.
We had this conversation. We had this conversation the other day. I completely forgot
because we were recording a podcast, and then we were talking right afterwards, and then Discord decided to have an outage. So
that is right.
Bastards.
So let's get into my thoughts. So when Discord decided that it was okay for me to hear things again, the first thing I heard was Tony Hawk. So immediately in my head, the first thing that came to mind is World of Warcraft, Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Yes. So let me go ahead and quickly finish these IPs just to kind of bring people up to speed. So like I said, we have lots of stuff. We have Crash Bandicoot. We have Tony Hawk. They own the Tony Hawk franchise. Spyro the Dragon is currently owned by them.
Right.
So Guitar Hero. Are you ready for an era where we could see the overpriced guitars back in Best Buys?
I mean, if somebody else is willing to purchase them and I come over
There's,
and
believe it or not,
play,
there's actually an interest. There's
well, I
actually
mean,
an interest.
that's great. Somebody else can purchase it and I
Yeah.
can come over and play.
All right.
I'm not
well,
going to
there
pay
you
for
go.
it.
Another big IP that they have is Candy Crush. So that's basically their mobile arm right there. So
Oh, I forgot
in
about
a lot
that.
of cases, that could probably explain a lot of the $68.7 billion. And then we also have, obviously, the Blizzard franchises. You have Warcraft, you have StarCraft, Diablo, Overwatch, although I would dare say Hearthstone, Overwatch, and Heroes of the Storm have quite significantly lost a lot of their value over recent months, especially with the lackluster reception for Overwatch 2. So at that point, but I mean, they still have Warcraft, and Warcraft at one point was one of the strongest MMOs out there, and Diablo 4 is in development. So you have a lot to be able to go with on the Blizzard end, as well as these other Activision properties. And oh, by the way, Call of Duty is theirs. So Microsoft has access to all of these and can potentially make them Xbox exclusive, can potentially make them Microsoft exclusive. So, sorry, Apple users, you might be boned when it comes to World of Warcraft, just because that's how they can decide to do things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what, like, there's not much more I can add to that. You stated it so beautifully and perfect. This is just kind of the day and age that we're in. I feel that the idea and the concept of like PC versus console has
Yeah.
disappeared over time. And I feel now that it started to become console wars. Which one's better? Is it PlayStation? Is it Xbox? Is it Nintendo?
Well, and this might
even
actually need to be a discussion later on, is like, in terms of the console war, like how this generation is going, kind of thing, and like what could be the key to winning this generation, etc.
well, one right now, supply and demand. In all
Yeah,
of
yeah.
like
This
in all of
generation fell flat
2000,
on its face.
I mean, in all of 2021, the Nintendo Switch sold millions upon millions of
Millions.
copies,
Yep.
whereas Xbox Series X and S
I can't
and
remember.
PlayStation 5 didn't.
Was it last year or the year before that they beat out the original NES in terms of sales?
Oh, it was definitely 2020 because everybody
It was
was
2020.
flocking to play Animal Crossing while
Yeah.
they were avoiding the burning of the world.
Yeah, they've
that
pretty
was
much beat every console record at this point for the Nintendo Switch, and most of those records were Nintendo. So
Oh, for sure. I mean, Xbox and PlayStation didn't even break a million sold copies last year, and
no.
Nintendo, like, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, which I more than likely am. I think it was roughly around 5 million Switches, but I could be wrong.
Could
I
be.
do know that it was somewhere between 2 and 5 million, which is like completely blowing the competition out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
It was a crazy huge number, and I just sat there flabbergasted.
Yeah, and to be honest, like when it comes to those numbers, I would love to be able to see the differences between regular Switch, what is it, Switch Lite is the
Yes.
other one, and then Switch OLED, because I can guarantee you OLED is probably not that high. I know that they tried to pair it with Metroid Dread and tried to make all that work, but I can guarantee you it's probably the original Switch that's the highest, but I don't know. I maybe could believe that the Switch Lite is higher up on that list.
I know that for a while finding a Switch Lite was very, very, very easy.
Yes.
Regular Switches are starting to come back more. To go buy a Switch today because they want to play Pokemon Legends because I showed it off to them because I may have brought it to work to play during like little break.
You bad boy. It's okay.
Well, when you're a regional director, you can kind of get away with stuff sometimes.
Okay, cool.
I kind of hope my bosses don't hear me saying this.
All right.
Where was I going with this? Oh, and in terms of like the OLED model, like nothing about it made me want to run out and buy it. The only thing I
Neither
was
did I.
interested in were the really sexy white controllers.
I
I
will
thought
tell
those
you
looked
the only reason
really
I
nice.
considered it was the built-in LAN port. That was it. But
Oh yeah.
and here's the
Other
thing: if they had
words,
done exclusive Joy-Cons for Metroid Dread with that, I probably would have upgraded. But they didn't, and so at that point, I'm like, well, I'll just get Dread, kind of thing. Because until you guys
yeah.
give me snazzy, Metroid based Joy-Cons, I'm not buying OLED because you're not giving me enough out of that.
My biggest concern was just the fact that it is a OLED because my ex and I got an OLED TV
Mm-hmm.
for what used to be our entertainment room,
Yes.
and he made a really giant deal, which is fair. That if you leave images paused for too long still on the screen, it will burn into the screen
Yep.
just because of how an OLED works. So I know that I sometimes would just out of really bad habit, and I had to really watch myself on this old television, make sure that I'm like properly turning it all the way off. And I didn't want to fall into that accidental trap where I left my Switch screen on for too long and
Yeah.
then I burn the image into my screen. And there goes $350. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just, I wasn't going to run that risk.
Yep.
Plus, the Switch that I have is only 2 years old. It still runs like I bought it yesterday. I
Yeah.
had, it was not, besides the controllers, which I have plenty of Nintendo controllers to play on my Switch, I didn't need to upgrade. So I know we obviously super digressed because I was trying to go on a point
Sure.
about like trying to go on some weird
Well,
tangent about, oh, now we're in the
I'm gonna digress you just a little bit because
okay.
the other thing
I like digressing.
that Alex and me were pointing out, like getting back to the point, you weren't here when we talked about the Bethesda acquisition, which
Oh, that's
literally was
right. I
around this
wasn't.
time last year too. Um,
Yes, it was.
and so at that point, like what went into your head when you heard Microsoft has acquired Bethesda for 7.5 billion?
So, I mean, ultimately, my thoughts about them grabbing Bethesda is very similar to my thoughts about them grabbing Activision Blizzard. Like, whoop-de-doo, great. I really don't care because I continue to see Sony nabbing and grabbing studios that actually produce quality entertainment,
Yeah.
quality games that have been QA'd properly, tested properly, and are not gigantic pieces of garbage that require patch after patch after patch that could have just been an additional year of development.
Yep.
And so I'm sitting here and I'm just like, good for you. You acquired a mess. And it's the same feelings I have with Activision Blizzard, especially Blizzard. Like, good for you. You just bought a mess. You bought
Uh-huh.
a gigantic
No,
sexual
you didn't buy a
mess.
mess. You bought a hot mess. A
Oh,
hot
think
mess.
yes, that is absolutely one gigantic steaming shit.
Uh-huh. And that actually kind of gets into what I wanted to get into with the opinions here is because I so I keep on saying superpower tonight, and it's just because I have been giggling at the internet ever since this acquisition started. Where people are screaming, console war's over! Console war's over! Because Microsoft owns everything, console war's over! Everybody has to buy Halo now! And so I'm going to introduce a discussion that I had with Bethesda. Okay, so is this 2010 when Skyrim is hot? No, it isn't, is it? It's Bethesda after having numerous failures, including Fallout 76, which still surprises me to this day. People still play that game. You also like the only success that you could say that Bethesda had in the last couple of years is Doom Eternal
Doom
before
Eternal
the
did
acquisition.
I mean, it did very, 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 very well.
It
I
did.
think it also. I mean, I also want to say I think it also helped a little bit that it came out on the same day as Animal Crossing New Horizons, and people
Well, it
just kind of.
definitely helped the memes that day. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, I enjoyed the memes. It was
Yes.
one of the things that got me through summer 2020. That
Yeah.
and Animal Crossing.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the only success that they really had. I mean, in ever since 2016, when the first Doom hit, like a lot of the stuff that they've been putting out is tons of Skyrim ports, basically remastering Skyrim for current gen and everything like that. And it's still as broken as it ever was. I know that they continue to patch it, but it's never been properly fixed. And I'm not saying that out of experience. I've talked to enough people who like Skyrim who have been willing to be honest about it and said that it's broken as F. In order to be able to play the original Skyrim, you needed like 30 mods just to make it playable. But in
Oh,
between all that, you had massive failure after massive failure. And so that is what Microsoft acquired. And here's the thing, Activision-Blizzard, same deal. Same deal. You can't call this a superpower because this isn't 2000 Blizzard, where they just barely released a hot game that you might know by the name of Diablo 2. Okay? This isn't 2003 Blizzard when a little game called Warcraft 3 happened. This isn't 2004 Blizzard when a little game called World of Warcraft hit. Okay? This is 2021 Blizzard that is falling apart ever since 2018. So, can you really call this a superpower acquisition?
no, you
No.
can't.
No, because you're not. I can already guarantee you with Blizzard, all of the key devs left. Okay? All of the key devs that were engineered the success of Blizzard, they don't work there anymore. Some of them have banded together with Mike Morhaim's Dreamhaven to go make indie games, some of which have gone over to Tencent to go work on Marvel trading card games. They aren't there anymore, people. So at that
No,
point,
they've all moved on, and honestly, like as more and more developers left, and as I throughout 2021, I was like, oh, this person left, this person left, this person left. It was followed by this was revealed, this new scandal came out, and it's
yeah.
like they totally saw the shitstorm that was coming in from the distance, and they were like, peace out, Girl Scout. I'm not being a part of this.
Oh, they
Like,
saw
I'm
it
done.
way before that point. Like some of them, they got out when the getting was good. Like
And good,
J.
and
Allen
honestly, good
Brack.
for them.
J. Allen Brack. I mean, I kind of feel bad for him, but not really. When he basically got saddled with CEO of Blizzard, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, big ass lawsuit happens. And at that point, he jumped ship like everybody else. And I know that he said that he's going to retire. Yeah, sure he is. He's going to go and work on indie games like a lot of them are. And that's fine. That's totally fine. But this is not the superpower that people are making out to be in terms of purchase. Phil Spencer is not going to rule the world. He has a lot of IPs to be able to work with, but it just depends on what he decides to do with them. And frankly, I don't think that they're going to do a whole heck of a lot with it. Let's get to your opinion, Alex, and then I want to get into some of the chained stories that have come into this whole situation.
Okay, so anything in particular about it, or what?
Oh, no. Like, what do you think about this acquisition? Is it the superpower that the internet makes it out to be?
It's a little hard to say because certainly the prestige has kind of gone from Activision and Blizzard, but it's like we were discussing kind of earlier. They did get a whole heap of a giant catalog at their discretion now. You got Call of Duty, which is still going.
I can guarantee you the most successful IP that they have right now is probably Candy Crush.
For mobile, for sure, but Call of Duty is obviously still going strong. They keep making it, so they must be making it up in the sales somewhere.
I'm going to question that because a lot of COD viewers or listeners that we have been saying that the current COD has irritated a lot of the fan base and a lot of them are leaving. So at that point, but I get your point. Like it's a big IP.
Yeah. So it's more
it's what
just
happens
about
when you put out a game like that every single year. That's why I'm
exactly.
glad. That's why I'm glad Ubisoft stopped doing that with Assassin's Creed and focused more on quality and where can we take this
Well,
game.
and on
And
top
I
of
think
that,
that
like
COD should do the same thing.
not only that, but a lot of the reason why I'm hearing a lot of COD players are leaving is because they haven't innovated in COD since like the example that people were giving were like modern warfare 3, Black Ops 2, stuff like that. So a lot of the games that they're just putting out is just the exact same stuff with a new coat of paint. So at that
Yeah,
point,
but didn't those games come out in the early 2000s?
yes, but in the early 2000s it was the modern warfare craze. So Modern Warfare 1, 2 and 3, they did Black Ops. Now they're doing like I think Warzone is the most recent one, and it is entirely multiplayer based. And
Right.
so
So the point I'm trying to make is that this this lack of innovation has been from like mid 2000s till now. That's like a good 15 or more years
yeah,
of nothing new.
and from what I understand, the biggest exodus of the Call of Duty fans was like I think they said 2015 or so. So at that
Oh my
point,
lord.
like basically what happened to Shadowlands last year happened back in 2015 for COD, where a lot of the dedicated players, streamers, they weren't doing it anymore, and they moved over to things like Fortnite. And so at that point, you definitely have to consider that, but they are big IPs.
And I interrupted Alex. So
Yes,
please,
Yeah.
please,
that's why
please finish your
that's why I
shot.
was bringing things back.
Sorry. You said you said something, and I was like, ooh, I want to say this really quick, so I'm
You're
gonna
good.
shut up.
Yeah, that's
Please,
fine.
please keep going.
So this is probably a prime opportunity for Microsoft as for Xbox to really again continue expanding. I think we've been seeing this over the last several years as they've been scooping up other studios left and right, right? They
Yep.
want to really diversify their library quite a bit. And I think this is kind of another big acquisition that could do great things. It's all about what are they going to do with this new
What are they going to do
catalog.
with it? Yeah, exactly. It's what are they going to do with it? Oh, I think Alex is having technical issues. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, God. No, yeah, seem to be having issues too tonight. I don't know what it is.
The internet gods are already mad at us. I have already sacrificed the leper gnomes, okay? I'm not sacrificing anymore.
You may have to, so I would probably start rounding them up just in case.
I've already talked to my Tauren friends. They've lined up the catapults to send them to me.
Excellent.
So, anyway, sorry, Alex. So
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure what point you heard before we cut out.
I was just kind of reaffirming your point of like these are big IPs, and it just depends on what they do with them ultimately.
Yeah, maybe they'll revitalize some of the kind of stagnant franchises like COD. Maybe they'll put it to bed and start something up new. Yeah, we'll see.
Yep.
Either way, I don't think it's gonna hurt. I don't think it's gonna hurt Activision-Blizzard too much, given everything else that's happened recently.
Well, yeah, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say this before we move into the extra stuff here, because we didn't technically cover that lawsuit in 2021 because of all the issues that we were having, and so I wasn't able to give my opinion on this. Is that I get that there's a lot of horrendous accusations that are being made. And there's substantial proof for some of them. There are some accusations that are not. So I will be very interested because I believe they are still saying that this thing is going to trial. Like the not Activision Blizzard side, but the other side. I think it's the state of California are going to make sure that it goes to trial. And I'm going to be excited about that because there are some claims that aren't on the level. And so at that point, I will be very interested to see what happens when not every single accusation, because a lot of this stuff could get ruled out, just for the sake of time and lack of bloat when it actually hits trial. So I'll be very interested to see what happens there, but it's definitely going to go to trial. I just have some questions on whether or not every single accusation that we've heard of is going to do it. But that being said, this actually rolls right into one of the extended parts of this. I apologize. I get thirsty from time to time. People might have noticed that as soon as this thing was penned and signed, the removal of Bobby Kotick happened. So Bobby Kotick is no longer the CEO of Activision-Blizzard, and he will not be the acting CEO of Activision-Blizzard. And the internet's reaction to this? Bye.
Wow.
Not poor dude, you lost your job, boo-hoo. It was, bye. Don't let the door hit your butt on the way out.
Oh my lord.
It's well known. The gamers and the gaming industry have no love for Bobby Kotick. So at that point, and I know that Blizzard fans don't have love for Bobby Kotick because of how many times he tried to interfere with Blizzard before the acquisition started happening. So yeah, Bobby Kotick is one of the scummier CEOs of the gaming industry. So no love lost there. Thoughts on that, Alex?
Yeah, good riddance.
Good riddance to bad rubbish. It really is. Like, no, and actually, I love the fact that Bobby tried to make himself out to be even more compassionate afterwards. I don't know if you guys saw this story, but he basically said that, I guess, in order to improve their image, he was going to buy Kotaku to save them from their dilemma, because unfortunately Kotaku's broke, like most online news outlets are right now. And so in order to repair their image, they were going to graciously buy Kotaku. Yeah, that's gracious. So what you're basically saying is that Kotaku will only ever report Activision Blizzard stuff. You basically are going to make Kotaku into a propaganda arm. That's hilarious that you think that that's compassionate. Thanks, Bobby. But it didn't happen because they didn't have the money.
Right.
So at that point, we have Activision Blizzard being purchased by Microsoft. And oh, by the way, this isn't final. We should say the purchase is under review by Congress. I think it's Congress that views it, not the Senate.
Department of Justice, to be specific.
So they're going to be reviewing it because of antitrust laws. And so they actually might deem this to be too much because of the $68.7 billion that was used to acquire Activision Blizzard. They might actually say that they can't do this. But if they do, then I think Activision Blizzard's done, and they will just die a more painful death. So I want to make sure that I think I've covered all like the big things that are happening here. Oh yeah, by the way, I guess Phil Spencer has already made an initiative to make World of Warcraft playable on Xbox consoles. Yeah, good luck with that one, Phil. Uncle Phil, you're making so many wonderful decisions right now. I love Phil Spencer, but he has like this every other year cycle or every third year cycle where he makes a jackass out of himself because people forget that the whole X-Bone scandal, that was him. Okay, where he was basically saying that you had to buy the game and you couldn't share it with your friends. That was him.
What game was that for again?
That was a feature for the Xbox One.
Yes,
Everything was going to have a user key,
now.
And that was Phil's bright idea. So I love Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil like makes himself out to be a total dingus every 3 years. It's kind of like Windows. Like every other operating system is the better one for a while. Uncle Phil, every third year, he just goes crazy and he has a bunch of bad ideas.
Well, this is, I'm gonna defend that a little bit, just a little, not a lot, because it's because if we're gonna talk about World of Warcraft here going on console for a brief second, I need to compare it to its MMO competitor, Final Fantasy XIV,
Oh,
because a lot of
Brinton, they're not
people.
competitors anymore.
Well, I am
I'm pretty
calling
sure
them.
Final Fantasy XIV shot it in the head and then shot it again for good measure.
I'm comparing them as competitors for the sake of this argument.
Okay.
I am aware that Final Fantasy XIV swooped in the last 2 years, murdered brutally World of Warcraft to the point where where Blizzard had to go take a look at it behind the screen at the autopsy office, and they
Dude,
couldn't
there are
even
former WoW
recognize
developers that now work for Square Enix.
Oh my lord. Anyway,
We
Final
have that
Fantasy
confirmed now.
14. So Final Fantasy 14 is on console. It's playable on PlayStation, and I have tried the console version of 14, and it runs fantastic. It works really.
Uh-oh.
It could, but it's going to depend on a lot of things, and those lot of things are going to have to be actual dedicated developers who give a crap about the game and want it to do well on console. And who knows if that exists in Microsoft Game Studios? We don't know. So I'm just gonna say let's not knock it before it actually happens, and there has to be beta testing to make sure it is sustainable.
Well, I mean that's definitely something that Bethesda's taking advantage of, is that Microsoft has an actual QA team. The only reason that I am debating that is because Blizzard made it such a cornerstone of their development philosophy to make things for PC that I don't know if you could streamline down abilities for a specific class for World of Warcraft into a controller at this point, especially not with the fans having some blowback about it because they want their class fantasy there. And so I don't know if that's necessarily going. I think Uncle Phil's going to try to do it. Sure, I think he's going to, and I think ultimately what's going to happen is in 6 or 7 months he's going to decide, yeah, we can't really do this. We don't really have the framework for it. And WoW is just that old of a game, so it might not even be in our best interest to do that. And so at that point, that might be a wise decision on his part. But I especially, I mean, I love his candor about it. I do, because he's gonna be trying really hard to be able to make all that work. Yeah.
I mean, you make a really you do make a great point there, Adam. Like, is it feasible? That was not even remotely something that I thought of. But in terms of like the button mapping to a controller, one, I'm not sure if you've had a chance to really delve into 14.
Nope.
I know prior to us, or rather me, ending our friendship, we were discussing it. However, since you haven't really delved into it, I'm just going to say that the amount of like buttons and the combinations and oh my gosh, you stop playing an MMO for 1 month and you literally forget all the terminology.
Yeah,
rotation. Your rotation. There are so many more buttons you have to hit in 14, and they make it work on a controller.
Okay.
Considering that WoW has way less buttons that you need to push, I feel that it is extremely possible. There's a lot of things that Yoshida Sensei took from playing World of Warcraft to better Final Fantasy XIV.
Yes.
That made Final Fantasy XIV what it is today. I feel that Blizzard could do the same. Find what's making Final Fantasy XIV such an MMO powerhouse as it is today, and put their own World of Warcraft twist on it, and it can work. But again, is it feasible?
Is it feasible? Is it worth it?
Yeah.
Because the other question that I would bring up with this is, how much, like, I don't like, I know you played BFA to an extent. Have you seen half of the kerfuffles that have happened with Shadowlands?
I only played, what patch is it now? Like when it came out?
So
It was
it's 9.15
9.0?
now.
Okay,
With
I
9.2
played.
on the beta.
So I played 9.0.
Okay.
And then that is around the time that Endwalker was revealed, and I was like, okay, like I'm sorry, this is blowing
So
what I just played in Shadowlands so out of
so
the
you
water,
missed
and I
Sylvanas
stopped.
becoming June Cleaver.
Yes,
Yes, you
I
did.
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, like I'll have to explain this to you off stream, but
Okay.
it's splendid how in one expansion they have so thoroughly doomed that character.
Like
In just
from what
one expansion.
I mean, from what I understood, didn't Blizzard say, "Oh, we're not going to pull a Drak or whatever his name was," and then they did it anyway?
Um, some might say that they did worse with Sylvanas, and
Okay,
I would tend to agree.
okay, well, we'll chat after the
Yes.
show.
Let's just put it this way. If if she was the main protagonist of the latest anime that Alex is watching because he loves his strong female characters, and he had seen the downward spiral of that character's gone through, I'm pretty sure that Alex would have months and months of rant videos about it. So
Okay, that's a really good
yeah,
preface
you can't even
for.
make the argument. And I know some people are going to make it in the comments. You can't make the argument to me that she's a strong female protagonist, a strong female character to me anymore. You can't do it.
Okay, we'll
This expansion alone shoved her back into the kitchen, and she ain't coming back out. So
depending on how much time you have to talk after the show, like, and depending on energy, we're definitely talking. So
okay, yes,
we'll put a pin in it for right now. So
yes.
moving on.
So that's the other thing that kind of comes into it is that Shadowlands has been such a kerfuffle for Blizz. Like so many, like BFA already had a lot of bad steps that were implemented into it, and Shadowlands just doubled down on all of that. So much so that basically the Shadowlands plan got leaked, and it was not received well at all. And it looks like that is the accurate plan because everything that is happening in the last patch is pretty accurate. So at
Is this in regards to like the leak that
the
has
big leak, yep.
10.0 is Dragon Isles or something?
No. This was another leak that came out a few months before 9.1 happened.
Okay, well again,
that basically spoiled the ending for it.
Okay,
so,
well again,
yeah,
we got some chatting to do, so
yeah, exactly.
I'm more than happy to talk about it later.
So at that point, like, there's a couple of things that Uncle Phil now has to consider. Is it feasible, and is it worth it? Because are they going to be able to, like, I'm pretty sure there's another expansion in the works. Whether it's the last one or not, I don't know. But there's another expansion in the works, and it might even not even be feasible to make that Xbox compatible. They might just say, well, go do this and then have your run. Kind of like that's your run, and that's what you get. Which I could totally understand on that regard. It just might not be the most feasible. It might just be more in their better interest to take, say, Diablo 4 and make that Xbox exclusive. Which, by the way, boys and girls, they could do. And they're well within their rights to be able to do. So there's a lot to be able to go into this, but what I at least want to be able to do for all of you people out there, because you like having our opinions heard, is this isn't the superpower acquisition that people are making it out to be, because you're getting the current developers, not when they were at their best, and anybody who's left Activision-Blizzard in the last 5-6 years has tons and tons of bad, dirty laundry to unload on that company now. So all you have to do is just go look for them, and you'll be able to see a lot of that. And the same thing was true of Bethesda. I especially love that so many people thought that Todd Howard was going to get his way and that he was going to be able to develop Elder Scrolls 6 alongside Starfield, and then we found out at E3 last year, no, Starfield first, and then Elder Scrolls 6. So we can already see Uncle Phil kind of whipping the crew back in line. So at this point, I don't think it's the biggest the big superpower, and that's assuming that this purchase even goes through. And that's assuming that this lawsuit doesn't just trash Blizzard in its entirety. Because it could.
Well, that's the fun thing about the future. We don't know what's going to happen. So,
Yes.
and I mean, even from what we were saying earlier, like, what if the acquisition doesn't even happen? Then, like, what next?
Then Blizzard dies
Like,
a
are all
slow,
the
painful death.
I mean, yes, that. But I look forward. If this acquisition doesn't happen, I look forward to seeing the comments on the internet of all the people who are like, the console wars are over, and then it's like, oh, ready to backpedal, my lovelies?
They're not. But that's why I'm saying we need to do a roundtable on this, because I think this is a viable conversation that needs to be had, is basically taking a look at this current console generation, how it's going, and what it's going to have to do to win. Because like in the last 2 generations that we've dealt with, there have been very different factors that have won it for a company. And I actually want to discuss that in particular.
I think that is a phenomenal idea.
Yeah,
I would love to sit down and speak solely about the console wars, because PC versus console is dead. Like, honestly, I don't feel that's even a thing anymore. I very much feel that it's Sony versus Microsoft versus Nintendo.
Yeah, and I would actually argue that the PC Master Race is now up for grabs, in terms of who can get them first. Because, but yeah, it's a bigger conversation. But I do think that the PC Master Race is up for grabs, and that's why we're seeing like God of War coming to PC, and Game Pass being
Horizon
such a
Zero
big,
Dawn.
Yeah, and Game Pass being a priority for Xbox, and even Nintendo is trying to secure something on PC, from what we're being told. So that being said, we do have a full docket tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the next story that we have.